Is the world burning? Are we okay? I heard
No,
like
things are on
Kamala's
fire.
running for president. You heard anything about this Kamala lady? According to a bunch of people, she slept her way to the top.
I mean,
And
you're saying her name wrong, and that's racist now.
okay, that's fair. I mean, no, it's
Um,
not. But which way
I
is
well,
it?
I
This is a genuine question.
it's
Which
K A.
Kamala?
So Kamala.
Kamala. Is that better?
Yes, accent the
Okay.
K A, and it's only
Okay.
racist because Trump refuses to pronounce it right, and therefore you're
Yeah,
doing something that Trump does, and that's racist. Which I can't actually fault the logic at all. Like it's
it's not a bad place to start from. It isn't where you should end, but it's not a bad assumption to make and then
yeah.
interrogate more.
Yeah, you're
Like
doing something that Donald Trump does. You must be racist. Yeah, okay, I get. All right, I get what you did there, but I'm just bad at saying the weird name that I didn't learn growing up.
yeah, and I'm bad with names, so people will learn that, and I don't care if they don't. Um, it does line up nicely with like our rules. This is we're consistent people, and this is one of the reasons I love us because this is all like the pronoun thing. Because I'm never mad at the person who fucks it up the first time, right? Like, no, that's no problem. Oh, you corrected him, and he's stubbornly continuing to do the other thing. Okay, asshole. Cool, thanks. That worked out. I'm glad we had that talk. um, it's just like mistakes are fine. It's being stubbornly fucking like self-centered about like labeling people weird shit that you think matters. Speaking of that, why don't we talk about the person with the vagina that they've decided is a man fighting in boxing in the Olympics?
Okay, I
Have you have you not heard about this one, my friend?
I have heard about it. We just you know jumped off what I thought was going to be a political discussion real quick.
No,
Um,
yeah. Well, honestly, unfortunately, this is a political discussion.
yeah, I would say it's a social discussion more so, but politics does often overlap. Um,
Well, I mean, my point being, there is a specific party of which this is sort of part of their platform
yeah,
is bringing up issues like this
yeah,
that I think both they are wrong about them. I'm actually less certain about that.
hmm
I'm pretty certain, but I'm less certain about the fact that they are wrong about their approach to these issues. What I'm sure about is it's all bad faith because it's a very small percentage of the population, and they're doing it to freak people out.
yeah,
Like it's fear
yeah.
mongering. It's not.
They're not trying to be genuine about solving a problem. They are trying to point at say the world sucks. It's these people's fault. Please vote for us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay, but let's so we can steer. That
no,
we basically finished that conversation. That's
no. I think there's a little more to say about it. Um,
okay.
partly because like one of the tacks that the right is taking right now to attack Kamala is they're saying that under a Kamala presidency, like one of the things that'll happen is uh, all all of women's sports will be dominated by men because that's her. She's like that, um, which is ridiculous. But okay. Um, the only thing I would say about this is sports is always a tricky one for me because obviously I hate the super conservatives. Like I hate social conservatives. Um,
But you
but
have to deal with the practical issue that at least in combat sports, the genetic advantages of being born male, sex
mhm,
male, are real and need to be dealt
yes,
with.
a lot of people
Now,
on the left don't want to admit that. Like they want to
mhm,
pretend that's not a thing. Um, and from what I read with this particular woman, she was born with a hormone condition, which basically gave her a lot of the advantages that someone born sex male would have.
yeah, she has more testosterone in her system than most than typical females. Um, I think at that point you just and this is going to be hard because I don't think you're going to have a hard and fast ring, but I think this is something to look at. I think she has a genetic advantage. I don't think it is such an overwhelming advantage that it needs to be a concern.
Yeah, probably not.
Um,
And particularly like for long-term health of the sport, like how often are you going to have a woman like that decide to compete in a combat sport, like or
to
any,
clarify,
level sport?
she has a very rare syndrome. I think Jamie Lee Curtis may actually have it, or at least there were rumors that she, um, in which she's XXY. Typically, people are XX or XY. That determines their sex at birth. Um, XY being male, XX being female. Some people end up XXY, and it's not. There is a range of outcomes, but usually it is. And in particular with this syndrome, I don't remember the name. It's you're born with a vagina and often even a uterus or and tubes, but not functional ones. So they're the people with this syndrome generally are not able to give birth or
Hmm.
get pregnant, but they have all the parts typical to genetic female sex person. And that's a weird turn of phrase, but I'm trying to not piss everyone off, sort of
Yeah.
unnecessarily. Like I want people to listen, so I don't want to make them mad by using the words that are going to make them mad. Um, this to me is, and this is hard. Intelligent people can disagree, but the fact that what intelligent people can't, what intelligent people can't disagree on is the people coming straight out and saying that's a man are full of shit and wrong.
Yeah.
It's at least not that simple.
Yeah. I
um,
mean, if sports that are separated by sex wanted to change the way they defined it, drop all of the accoutrement off and literally put in like a testosterone level,
mhm.
and that was just how they decided which side you competed in. Like, obviously,
Yeah,
there's a lot of baggage that comes with that, as far as then you have to test, and what if they're taking something
yeah. I
like
mean,
to.
they they could just say, and this would hurt her, but they could just say Y chromosome, non-Y chromosome.
Hmm.
Now, this person would be fucked because as
Yeah,
much as they have genetic advantages over other women, they are not a man. So they have more testosterone, not the same testosterone, and they would get
right.
fucked up. By all appearances, she isn't the number one ranked boxer, right? Like she she she's not like she's lost a bunch. Like this isn't,
Hmm.
and I hate that because it was often, and this is once again the people telling the story, right? They're like, "Oh my God!" They saw the result of one bout with an Italian woman who basically got punched in the nose and was like, "I'm out, fuck this."
Yeah.
Um, like, and we're like, "This person is destroying female boxing. She's beating a swath through the lady folks," but that isn't at all connected to the reality of her career. Like she's had a good career. She's a high ranking amateur female boxer, but she is not a dominant force in the sport. Not close. So it's just yeah. And honestly,
Okay.
of all the sports where you want to go mixed gender, like I might be okay with combat sports because they go by weight anyway,
Hmm.
and there's always a person that can standing in the ring that can go like, "Oh, this isn't a no. These people shouldn't be fighting. This fight
Yeah.
is over."
Okay. So
Um,
so this is going to hurt her case and our case, I think, a little bit. Um, so this is from the Mayo Clinic. Klinefelter syndrome. Uh, and it defines Klinefelter syndrome as a male that is born with an extra X chromosome.
I think it was a different name. Hold on.
I don't know if there's more than one XXY.
Hold on. But what's up with that one? Because that would be interesting anyway.
I mean, I think from what I'm reading, it possibly not Klinefelter. I don't because Klinefelter syndrome. It seems like these people would just be bad at sports. Less muscle mass, weak bones, increased belly fat.
I swear. Hmm. I thought it started with an S. That's really interesting because I'm just getting Kleinfelter now too. Oh no, Schreier. What's this? Okay, so girls with Swyer syndrome have an XY chromosomal makeup as boys normally do, instead of an XX chromosomal makeup as girls normally do. Despite having the XY chromosomal makeup, girls with Swyer syndrome look female and have functional female genitalia and structures, including a vagina, uterus, and fallopian tube. Girls with Swyer syndrome lack sex glands. Instead of sex glands, women with Swyer syndrome have gonadal streaks in which the ovaries do not develop properly and are replaced by functionless scar tissue. Because they lack ovaries, girls with Swyer syndrome do not produce sex hormones and will not undergo puberty unless treated with hormone replacement therapy. Mutations in several different genes are known to cause Swyer syndrome. This condition can occur as a result of a new gene mutation or can be inherited in an autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, X-linked, or Y-linked manner. Excuse me. Um, so to be clear, neither Kyle or I are certain which of these syndromes that and either could theoretically describe. As long as you're Klinefelter, you can end up with a vagina because they've been very clear that she has a vagina, unfortunately. Um, I read in an article that she has Swire, but I don't remember what source it was, and I'm not comfortable saying like, well, they were right, you know. So
It
like, either way, she is an unusual genetic. I'm gonna just call her a woman because I because that's easy for me. But she is a genetically rare female presenting person.
yeah, I think probably it was Swire, and I remember learning about Klinefelter in like high school biology, and you probably also learned about it in college because you were
Yeah, I mean, I
med for
took
a while.
abnormal psychology and stuff.
Um,
Yeah, so
so I think probably you just conflated that the XXY because you kind of remembered it with
hmm yeah,
the woman with XY, and
yeah,
so it was probably that was where the confusion came in. So I
yeah.
think
That's
because
probably right.
Schweier tracks more with what
Yeah,
um, because
yeah,
Klinefelter, like I said, even the Mayo Clinic, like I, the first thing was the NHS for like my first search result was the NHS,
yeah,
which is the British National Health Service, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
I'm not going to go with what they say because if the National Health Service is going to be conservative, I think British and conservative are synonyms. Um,
Hey,
but then the Mayo
they
Clinic
just voted
defines
out
them.
their conservative party.
That's true, like by record numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. XXY makes sense in my head too. So and it's not impossible the article I read fucked it up. Like it's
Hmm.
just, but yeah, Swire matches it more, and matches what I read about her as far as physically better. So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And hey, I'll be like under that description, unless the hormone replacement they gave her when she should have gone through puberty was male hormone replacement, I think everyone should shut the fuck up and just let the
Yeah.
woman live her best life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that would have and given where she's from, that seems real fucking unlikely, dog.
I mean, given where she's from, she probably didn't get anything.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure they didn't give the person with a vagina testosterone where she's from.
Yeah.
It's like I got I I'm gonna give that 99.9, and that's only because I don't give hundreds out. Um, so yeah. So yeah. It's it's just a frustrating thing to see people be so blatantly manipulated by just lies
Bad actors,
and
but yeah, I mean, people who
yeah,
are trying to fight a culture war that they've already lost, so they've resorted to dirty tactics.
yeah. Well, they've done been resorted. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they lost it in like the 60s.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they keep, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. They specifically reference going back to the 50s, basically. So yeah, they were like, shit. Why'd we let the black people and the women and all these people have says? And, oh my God, they're allowed to be gay now? What the fuck? It is really fun though. Like if you're listening to this and you know an old person who you love, at some point, if they're Caucasian, they're gonna look at you and they're gonna. It doesn't matter how good they are, doesn't matter how woke they are, doesn't matter anything. They're gonna look at you and they're gonna say something along the lines of, "But it was safer back. You know, we used to just walk down the street." And if you want to fuck them up, look at them and say like black people walking down the street were literally getting lynched. Like that doesn't seem particularly safe, does it? And if they're a good person, that will kind of make them go, oh. But you know, if they're not, you'll know. So that's also handy, right? If they're like, no, they weren't, be like, I have about a billion articles to
yeah.
show you.
Or or if their response is, "Yeah, but it was safer for us."
Hey, at least that's honest. I get like I could I might be able to maintain a relationship with that person. Like unless their next sentence is, and that's the way it should be, then we might have something to talk
Yeah,
about.
I mean, you and I both have. I think very few people live in this sweet spot that we live in, where we are able to deal with people we don't agree with, but also set lines. Like this is like past this, you are a harmful existence. Like having you in my life is a cancer, and you don't get along with cancer. You just cut it out and move on.
Yeah, it's because for many reasons, most of them bad, people don't actually study, consider, or think about morality in any tangible way throughout their entire life, which to me is an insane way of going through it. Now, you may be sitting there going, like, wait a second, I do think about what's right and wrong. Okay, what the fuck are your parameters? I bet you it's something along the lines of, well, authority figure A told me, so that's what's right.
Yeah, or will I get in trouble for this?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, does your calculus end with, do I benefit from this? Without any consideration for the potential outcomes that affect other people. Be honest. It probably does. You know what that makes you? Not great. I'm not saying bad, but not good.
Yeah, I
And that's
think.
the thing. Like, a lot of people just live at moral neutrality.
Mhm.
But
I mean, I think
I
most people have some consideration for what it'll do to other people. It's just that they've weighted the scales. And then it's
mm,
the question is how much have you weighted the scales? Because I think it makes sense for, it makes sense for you to favor yourself and those that you love. Like that is a natural
yeah,
state. Um, and then I just have to figure out how large a weight you've put on that side because
yeah.
at
I
a
mean,
certain point you've become a bad person. And for me,
yeah,
it's not actually a particularly heavy weight. Like if you're willing to do harm to someone else and it's even, a little more than the benefit you get from it,
yeah. The
then
knowing the For me, the case of like the knowing harm doer, like I get a benefit, but it doesn't even exceed the harm I'm doing, and I know I'm going to do it, or it's likely to happen.
yeah.
That's a bad person. That's like D&D evil, sort of. The interesting case is the person who is doing the I don't realize I'm going to harm a lot of people. And then you get into the fun math of like, okay, now the question becomes how many people are you going to harm? And how should you have known, right?
Hmm.
Should you have known that you were going to harm people? And we get into the, analogizing to the murder law, where it's basically like reckless in
Yeah.
danger murder, where it's just, and that's not the right phrase, but whatever, people can correct me. Have fun in the comments. Um, Maybe depraved heart, whatever. I'm getting sidetracked.
Depraved indifference.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different phrases for it actually, but yeah, what it comes down to is like you were so fucking careless and you killed someone that we're gonna basically impugn intent upon you, like
Hmm.
um, and there's a point in me judging a person that is the same point, and it's just I can't define it specifically. It's like,
Yeah. No, it's just it's you're kind of looking at them and going, I don't believe that you didn't know you were risking hurting these people. Like
mhm,
it's a reasonable person standard again. Like
yeah,
no reasonable person would have thought that this action was without risk.
yeah, and then you get to a point where it's just like, okay, this is so shitty, it doesn't matter if I'm
Mhm.
in.
Yeah.
Like you
And
just,
it's kind of like for me, even if I were to take you at face value, like you really didn't predict the outcome. If I think that outcome was obvious enough, you're still a bad person. Just the other meaning of bad. Like bad is in you're not capable. You are so
yeah,
incapable as a person that we need to take you out of society because you're a danger to
yeah.
others, even though it's not willful.
Yeah, and really, we just need to take you out of like societal decision making. Like, you can still live your life, watch whatever TV shows you want, read books, study. Like, just
Nah,
we're going to reduce your ability to impact others to zero. No, you're just going to.
just cull.
No, that's not.
We have enough people.
Probably too many, but I'm still not cool with that. This you'll notice, listeners. This will often be where Kyle and I diverge. Yes, it takes us to get to this point, but usually it's I'm done. So I'm gonna reduce risk to zero. I'm speaking for Kyle right now by just being done with these people. And I'm like not particularly comfortable with that. I would like to give them more opportunities to be more than a zero with the knowledge that Kyle's probably right, practically
We're
speaking.
in the. I just realized this. You're Sonny and I'm Vicky from the movie I, Robot.
Okay.
Because what you basically just said, yes, but it's so heartless.
Yeah. I love that his logic is basically just like, yeah, but you're being a bitch. Like, I mean, serious. Like, come on, lady.
Yes, all of your logic tracks, but that's just mean.
Yeah, pretty much. Uh, which is people's fault for putting a computer with no emotions in charge of them,
Mhm.
because then they would come to the logical conclusion, which is people suck, and
And
we need to protect them from themselves.
what's weird is you and I have landed at that spot a lot in our conversations before we started recording, and that's the first time it occurred to me.
Hmm.
Also, I don't have a problem with being the heartless pure logic computer. It doesn't bother me. I thought maybe there'd be a twinge of like self examination when I compared myself to a heartless supercomputer, and I was just like, no, I'm cool with that. I actually
No, but what differentiates you from Vicky, honestly, is your respect for Sonny. Like, he might be right. Vicky doesn't think Sonny might be right. She's like, no, you need to stop. I'm right.
yeah, I'm going to actively try to dissolve you.
Yeah, and for you, it's like I know John's wrong, but like there's something to this thing that he does that like I don't know. There's no logical rightness to it that I hate and I can't look at directly, but I'm just gonna keep him around.
Okay, I might out myself a little bit here. I think it's just the lack of power, man. I think if I had the power that Vicky had, control of an army of super robots, I think I might tell you to shut up and get back in the box. I'm gonna fix things.
I think you might. And then we're actually in iRobot because I'm not getting in the fucking box, man. So like I like the version where we're on the same team more. I was watching Infinite Dendrodram, I think it's called. It's on Hulu. It's an anime, and it's pretty quick. It's We're in a video game anime with the main character who gets it's not an atypical video game anime thing. They made stakes by making the NPCs like, in effect, what they seem to be implying is that people are like porting into a legitimate different dimension where the NPCs are actual souled beings, and through whatever way we're doing that. And when they die, they don't come back in the game. So they don't come. So they genuinely die. So the stakes are actually the NPCs dying, and certain of the characters are aware of that and care. And then the worst of the villains are the ones that are aware of that, and they're like, "Cool, I'm gonna kill a bunch of them."
Okay.
So it's fun. I think it's actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. Um, I'm rewatching it now, and there's a pairing. The main character and kind of his number one ally. He's got a cool group. It's not all women with big breasts, so it's nicely different in in that way. There
They
are
avoided
those.
one of
It's
the
not all of
pitfalls.
them. Yeah, see my character that's slim and wears a suit, shoots a gun, like just cool. It's nice. But in a very particular episode, I'd be interested if you watch it because in a very particular episode, the two of them, I was like, oh, it's me and Kyle, and it was really because of like sort of the way they were playing the game because like one was just like, I'm the big fucking hero and I'm gonna heal. And you're telling me there's a 1% chance? That means I got a 1% chance. Let's go. Right? That's it. That would be me, of course. Then there's one who fights this battle who wins it because he figures out the mechanics of the attack of the person he's fighting and then needs a little while, so basically talk shit to him for like 30 seconds in order to get his attack going and then attacks and wins the fight. So like, I was like, yeah, that's Kyle. All right, cool. Um, that person's Every person gets an embryo and then that's your weapon. But sometimes it's like maiden class, so it's actually this like woman who can turn into a weapon or like be like sort of like a without the connotations of pet in a video game.
Okay.
Um, and the Kyle character's pet is a succubus.
So that
Who's
that continues to track.
Yes, and the John character is just very like is like a schoolgirl without the sex, like just an innocent like young woman completely covered in clothing. So not the usual schoolgirl that you think of, like just like well, a not gross schoolgirl kind of looking person. And yeah, so yeah, it's good. I like that one. I think they only have a couple seasons, but I've enjoyed it, and I enjoy the switch, like because I like the whole virtual reality game motif, but it's nice that they at least flipped it on its head a little bit in some ways, so it wasn't just basically Sword Art Online again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that one's been on my list, like literally on my list in Hulu for a while, but I just
Hmm.
haven't gotten to it because I don't really
Yeah,
watch
and it's not a
TV
good
except
name.
what Candace makes me.
It's not a good name. I don't know how I ended up watching it. I must have read the description and been like, oh, I usually like these. Because
Hmm.
like, what the fuck does Infinite Dendrodram mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like a infinite tree picture.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean they're often good. It's mostly what I read right now is lit RPG, which is just the the novel version of that.
Yeah,
Um, obviously, many of them have slightly different, you know, ways that life is a video game. Um, for
yeah,
those who might not be experienced, like Sword Art Online is one of the was like really the first big animated one, and that is,
yeah.
they enter a virtual reality game that basically holds them hostage. So like you're in this headset and it can kill you, and they won't let you out. But no one knew that was going to happen before they went in.
It's one of the interesting things about culture and where like fan bases can get really prickly with each other is like I would just consider Sword Art Online the one that made that a thing. Not because I'm sure it didn't invent it, but I'm not an anime head, so I don't know like the rare manga that came out in the 70s that did it or whatever, right? Like so,
Hmm.
but sometimes what matters is the piece of culture that popularized an idea, and there we go. Okay,
Yeah,
let's just stick with that. And then just like a little thing for people who then look back at these things with like sort of anger and resentment. Remember that because they sort of did it first so early, it wasn't tired when they did it, right? Like the fact that 1,000 people have now done the thing shouldn't really be taken out on the original thing. Is like they shouldn't be punished for that.
yeah,
But often they are sort of in perception because you go back and be like, oh, this is kind of stupid. I've seen it those times. Like, yeah, because this was so insanely popular that everyone copied.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
so
You should you
I don't
shouldn't
know
be
why.
mad at ET because aliens are overdone.
Yeah, that kid should have acted more. It was probably good that he didn't because he would have ended up insane and died or something. He's so good in that movie.
um,
Alien.
and also, I would point out for people that I'm pretty sure ET was not the was once again, as John said, the thing that made it popular, not the thing that invented it.
Yeah, there were definitely alien movies, and that's also part. And the other part of that is then it becomes a generational thing, right? Like there'll be a kid that or like when we were kids, have been like, wow, E.T.'s like the first great alien movie. And then our parents looked at us and went, what about the man who came to Earth? Or like the shit from
Mhm.
the 50s. Like
Well, I
you
think I
you don't know
I
nothing
mean
about these giant ant movies.
the difference about ET, and it's kind of why I would want to move it over to it's the friendly alien, or at least not
Hmm.
you know the alien's not a threat. Um,
That's a real question. The friendly alien, particular. I mean, friendly alien children's movie. Like we can get to the point where it's definitely because one of the
yeah,
most interesting things
I
about
think
that
calling it a
movie,
children's movie is a stretch. Like that's rough. So
but
emotional
one of the
heavy
most
lifting in that
interesting,
movie.
yeah, but one of the most interesting things about the movie is like it is literally usually from the perspective of either ET or children. So like you're looking up at the grown-ups or like at their
Hmm.
waist.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting visual thing they did because you sort of feel like you're in a world that's too big for you.
Hmm.
I really do like having rewatched that with Marianne. Like I really, and obviously as an adult who's seen way too many movies and listened to way too many directors' commentaries, like it was interesting to see to note the visual storytelling and a lot of the things they were doing that as a kid flew right over my head, at least as
Yeah.
far as like identifying. I mean, like
Hmm.
that's why I feel this way. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like
I
I just
mean,
felt it.
the story is definitely like it's definitely a story in which human adults are the bad guys, and almost
Oh yeah.
across the board. Like it's kind of, yeah, there are those that come around, but the default setting is you cannot trust human adults to be good. And I obviously didn't get that as a kid, but it's accurate to life.
Well, when you're a kid, you watch that movie and it's like, yeah, like they never listen to me.
Hmm.
If I had an alien, they wouldn't listen to me. They wouldn't believe that I had an alien. And then they'd probably come and fuck it up because that's what adults do. The real lessons of ET is adults suck. Good. Internalize that. Pretty true. You know, just like the real lesson of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, as I will always say, is people are going to treat you like shit until they need you. That blue nana's mine. I loved it. She just looks at me like, oh my God. Like, yeah, yeah. All right. Do you want to talk about the person whose name I can't say?
Kamala.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had joined like Stephen Colbert in your boycott of Trump.
Oh no, I'll yeah, no, Trump's a shithead. I'll just although I make him Trump again was a fun thing that we should have stuck with, I think.
uh,
Um
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
for what I thought was we were going to jump right in and do an hour of hard politics. We took a left turn, and that's fine. I think probably that's more representative of our conversations than staying on topic.
Absolutely.
So,
And maybe I just wanted to go like yank on the stick when you were like, let's talk about politics for now. It's like, yeah. All
I mean,
right,
certainly
go ahead.
a lot of things have happened since we've talked about the political state of our country and or the world.
Do you have a checklist? Or like what
Well,
would you say is the first thing?
I mean, on a timeline, the first thing we didn't talk about is the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, which I'm actually not super comfortable calling it an assassination attempt, just because I feel like that should be reserved for people who actually are in power. Like, you assassinate a president, not a former president. You just kill a former president. But like,
I think you gotta I think you have to define him as the leading candidate for the presidency for a major political party. It's a mouthful, but if you're going to label it an assassination instead of an attempted murder, which I'm not making a moral judgment. I think it's probably easier to justify assassinations than normal murder. But um, yeah, you know, half of one, six of one, half a dozen of the other.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
someone tried to shoot him.
Morally, yeah, it doesn't make much of a difference. Like, it's just a word choice that I'm not. I just wanted to express I wasn't 100% comfortable with.
That's fair. So yeah, somebody tried to shoot Trump. Shouldn't have done that. Doesn't seem like the Secret Service or the local police officers did a great job. Someone
No,
actually,
certainly together. Like,
yes.
you might be able to say that individually they each were trying to do what they were supposed to do, but they did not work. At the very least, they did not work together well.
Which, if you've ever tried to work like even across like departments in a single company where you work, or I have actually worked with police as a security officer, that's always a challenging situation because you end up butting up against egos and power dynamics and lack of information, not necessarily about like what's going on, but who needs to get the call, where action can actually occur immediately, especially in these bureaucracies like police forces and federal government. But do better. I mean, this is a lot of the
Yeah.
lesson we learned after 9/11, right? It's like you guys need to talk, right? Like you need to cut the shit and you need to just talk and like help people not die. Like that's your
Yeah.
job. But yeah, there was a lot of noise around the whatever, the attempted murder, assassination attempt, whatever you want. Um, People immediately being like, and I understand the emotional response of like, I think he faked it. Um, so we need to point out that someone actually did die tragically, like covering his family with his body, which just, what a shitty reason to die. Some asshole was trying to shoot some other asshole and you just get caught, It's like, but yeah, maybe we should. I don't know. I hate to bring this up because people will consider it political, but maybe we should make it harder to buy guns. Just throwing that out there.
I
I mean, okay, what I find intellectually interesting is that we could take the vast majority of Republican politicians and just cut out sound bites of them responding to other people getting shot at, not their presidential candidate, but just other people, kids, anything, all kinds of stuff, right? And then if we played their response as a response to the assassination, the people on Fox News who said these things would be outraged by our lack of sensitivity,
Yes.
which takes it, which makes it hard for me to take them seriously in this
Yeah.
context.
I mean, Republicans have mastered two things. One is manipulating the rules of government to their advantage, and the other one is
Hmm.
hypocrisy.
Yeah, they're good at that. Yeah, I mean, I have to say that my continued frustration with the coverage of politics by the media, the both sides of them that just comes out and like covering, listening to all these people on podcasts, like everywhere from podcasts to like network TV, that insist on continuing to be like there are threats to democracy on both sides, or like you know that that these parties are even sort of playing the same game at this point is just, to my mind, incredibly disingenuous. It's just they're not the same. They're not like I'm not saying the Democrats are all good. The Democrats have been I have been livid for like 3 weeks at the Democrats. Not because I disagree with their policies, which should be what fucking matters, but because I disagree with the way they're playing the game, and I think they suck at it. Um, However, Kyle was kind enough to give me some counters to that, and I have a headcanon now that makes me okay with everything that's going on. It's called the Joe Biden is actually Kaiser Sose. Please forget about all the things that go with that character and just remember the movie. And he blew the debate on purpose. And when he walked out of the debate, he did like a cool spin, put on a pair of sunglasses, jumped into a convertible with Dr. Jill, and drove off. Because he's like, I got him there. Then he waited till right after the RNC, didn't tell anyone. He's like, oh, I dropped out. Go get him. Go get him, Kamala. And yeah,
that it
it was all his plan.
it does feel much better than the apparent narrative of Democratic donors and power brokers pushed Joe
Yeah,
Biden out.
elite fuckheads made the nominated by vote person leave the race against his will. I don't like that version. If it's that version, then I have a complicated relationship with my vote. Not a difficult relationship with my vote. I still clearly vote for whoever the Dems put up because Trump's a lunatic autocrat. But I hate them more, and that makes me less happy. And I'm going to make the me more happy choice. This is very much in line with the I believe in a God choice. Like, you know why? Why not? So I know otherwise, I'm happier this way. And I think the truth is probably honestly somewhere in the middle. I think we'll learn that the, if I had to bet, I would say Joe Biden can either be a really effective president or a really effective candidate at this point in his life, given his age and his energy levels. He was trying to do both, and he genuinely couldn't. And unfortunately, we all sort of learned that together, which was awkward.
Hmm.
Um,
And by we all,
and
he's including Joe.
yes, I am. I think Joe Biden is a very rare thing in that I actually believe he's a decent person that cares more about the country than himself. I think he cares about himself a lot and his legacy. I don't think he's a selfless dude. I just think that ultimately in the hierarchy, he thinks democracy matters and cares about the country. So I just wish, this feels too close to when I bitch about like sports teams being a fan because it's like, you know what I want? I want the front office to keep its shit together and not leak like a sieve. So I don't
Hmm.
know that there's all kinds of weird, dumb shit going on. As long as you get to the right result, if I don't know about all the weird, dumb shit, I can just be happy with the
Yeah.
result. But I hate the
Although,
fact that billionaires and and unelected and a lot of unelected power players ended up apparently having some hand in forcing this decision,
Yeah.
which is not democratic, which is like your whole high ground is that they're actually trying to end democracy. So you
Hmm.
should try to act consistently with democracy. It would be my idea of how to do it.
Yeah.
I understand that makes it harder. I admit that makes it harder. Yes, I'm saying true words. This is not how you do things. I want you to try to learn from me. Yes, doing it this way will make it harder. It's worth it.
Hmm.
Say that out loud. Am I sure that's right? No. But if I was doing it the other way, no one would ever fucking found out. Because it would have been me and my people would know better than to fucking talk. Because they would know
So,
Kyle was coming if they talked.
yeah, I have no conscience about things like this.
Yes, nor should you.
Um, so you mentioned before we were recording, and I'm gonna bring it up now because I think our headcanon with Joe Kaiser Soze Biden makes this better too. You have been irritated with how hard the Democrats are playing now. Like not, all the, prosecutor versus the felon, all the really hitting out at Trump that wasn't happening when Biden was the
Mhm.
candidate and is happening now. That was just part of Biden's plan.
Yeah, he released the Kraken.
Yeah,
He
it
was
was
telling them to take it
like,
easy.
yeah, they were going to say all
And
those things, and he said, no, 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 no. See, here's the plan.
no, he didn't tell them the plan. He just said, I got this. Because he needed them to believe, like,
Mm,
and get frustrated. So they would, he
okay.
was building up that energy,
Got to keep
right?
the conspiracy
So that way,
small.
yeah, he's kind of shows that. Yes,
Okay.
it's him and Dr. Joe. And I don't even think he told the boy. Maybe the boy knew a little something, but he didn't know the whole thing, right?
Mm.
Hunter, I'm speaking.
Yeah, no, he didn't tell Hunter anything.
I don't think. Yeah, I'm trying to be kind to Hunter. I don't think
No,
he was in on
yeah,
it.
as much
I,
as Hunter is kind of getting a raw deal and definitely got, like, Trump has been complaining about selective prosecution. Hunter Biden actually got selectively prosecuted.
yeah, if he spends
Um,
what is he possibly getting, like 30 years?
I don't
Yeah,
know. I hadn't heard that. I mean, all he did
yeah,
was
it's something
fly on a federal
insane. Like,
form.
yeah, like he's up for like a real sentence. It's kind
I
of
mean, it's
like,
a felony.
yeah, it's. I mean, felonies are usually at least a year. I mean,
Um,
if you give, yeah,
but
or
it's a
probation,
felony that normally is pled
doesn't get
out
prosecuted.
for
Yeah,
probation.
yeah,
And by normally, I mean like legal experts have been unable to find a case where it actually went to court in the last, since it's been on the books for 28 years.
yeah.
Like
And
that's
there was a special
selective prosecution.
prosecutor. It's a special prosecutor, which Eileen
Yeah,
Cannon just
which is
told us is
unconstitutional.
not legal. Except that she
Um,
took out time, in her fucking opinion, to to talk about a case that had nothing to do with hers because she wanted to make sure Hunter Biden still went to jail.
yeah.
Because that's really something she should have been concerned about as a fair and even judge of this case.
but but
That
either way,
ooh,
despite that raw
have we
deal,
talked
he
about
was a
that?
crackhead, and I don't think Joe would have shared the secret for him.
No, 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 no. I think you're right. I think you're right. I think Joe. I think that would have been hard on Joe, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I
Oh, it would have
genuinely,
bothered him
like,
for every minute.
yeah. So yeah, I just, I like that you said our head canon. I like that you're on the Kaiser Soze train. This is nice.
Well,
I
no,
like
because
this.
I didn't need it before, but now, like, as the Democrats doing stupid things pile up on one side, it it helps because um I wasn't as bothered by them forcing him out as you were. I was only bothered that it was getting out because
Yeah,
my whole thing was like this needs to be like whisper quiet until it has worked because
yeah,
all you're doing is hurting the guy who is your candidate.
yeah. Um, yeah. You need to make it look like it's his call, regardless of whether or not it's his call. Like
Hmm.
that isn't important to a winning
Yeah,
strategy in the
and it
situation. You
doesn't
guys
look
fucked
like
it
that
up.
now.
No. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, I don't want to hear any comments to that either. It's like, well, now you're telling us that, yeah, no, if you're going to play games this way, then play them right. I don't want you to do it this way, but if you're going to
Mhm.
do it with confidence or don't fucking do it. Like, there are real stakes going on, guys, here. Like, this isn't time to be like playing okay. Democracy. You keep telling me it's an existential threat. I agree with you. Act like it.
Yeah. So I think Kamala has good messaging against Trump. I mean, the contrasts are better. I am worried just because there are enough closet racists and misogynists that I believe there is
Yeah, I mean, they're not even that closet anymore.
well, no, I'm only worried about the closet ones because, the ones who aren't closeted probably were voting for Trump anyway.
That's fair.
Um, but the ones who might not even admit it to themselves and were absolutely going to go vote for Biden that now sit on a couch because they probably still don't vote for Trump. But that,
Yeah, but they might stay home.
yeah, we don't
You
we
just
don't necessarily need people to flip to Trump to lose this election. We just need people in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin to stay home, and then we lose.
Yeah, I think what we're going to have to accept is that like we're just not going to know the math of this until people vote. Like you can look at polls, and I don't know if that's actually a good mental health exercise. I don't know how.
No, it's not.
I don't know how much they're going to actually tell you about the reality of the situation. Like, because what it comes down to is like you can't identify the people that are lying to themselves for whatever reason. Like you just spoke to the side that would lie and stay home or like vote, but there's also the Republican women that are lying to people or themselves right now and being like, yeah, no, I'm totally still going to vote for Trump. And
Yeah,
in
yeah, they're
reality, they're going to be
identifying
like, fuck
themselves as a
this.
Trump voter because their husband is standing right next to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like, okay, what am I confident of? Donald Trump is going to lose the popular vote.
100%.
That's it. Now I'm done. I have said all of the things I'm confident about. Because if
Yeah.
you told me Donald Trump wins every swing state and is our next president, I'm not like you're ridiculous. That's never going to happen. If you told me Kamala Harris wins every swing state and is our next president, also not ridiculous. Kamala
Yeah.
Harris wins by the greatest margin in the history of elections. Also, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like, but I can't, all of those things are outcomes that are like on the list of things that seem reasonable to happen. Well, not reasonable because anyone voting for Trump
Yeah.
is like all of those
Well,
people
no,
are being unreasonable, as in they lack reason. Their brains
I,
are malfunctioning.
I want to take people back a moment because Kyle and I talked for a long time about actually making a board game based on the Electoral College. And for me, part of the point of making this game was to show how stupid the Electoral College is. And I think we should just flip out the part where Kyle explained the likely outcomes and then find a way to send that back in time to the people who are doing the Electoral College and be like, see what you did. See what you did. Because we live in a purported like democratic republic, and he just said she's definitely going to get the popular vote. Chance she's actually going to win by the most ever. No chance the other guy's going to win the popular vote. Substantial chance he's going to win the election.
Yeah,
Huh?
the actual outcome of the election, as far as winner loser, is a coin flip, and she's definitely going to win the popular vote by significant numbers of people.
Just yeah, millions of upwards of 10 million. Do we think this time
I
around?
think I think it's very possible.
Obviously, it depends largely on uh, how
Turnout.
many people go. Yeah, that would be the word for that that I
But
couldn't
I,
think
I
of.
think I think what's definitely going to, as far as just pure popular vote, she is going to energize a bunch of Democrats in places where their votes don't matter. to go out and
Uh,
vote for her. So, New York
Here's
City people who might have stayed home because
yeah,
whatever.
but I think ultimately the potential win for with her is you energize the young to vote just by putting in someone who's not an old person,
Hmm.
right? Like effective. And like policy's no different. She's not better on Gaza, you know what I mean? But now they all want to vote. Cool.
I
I don't
she
need it
she's
to
a
be with
little
her.
she's a little better on Gaza, but
Okay.
that's not you know
That's because she's allowed to be by standing on the
yeah.
sidelines. But then, but um, I, me as a person judging them, I can't let them give her all the credit for all the wins of the administration and then not give her
Hmm.
blame for the losses. But that I I don't want to argue this
Yeah,
anymore.
I mean it it
Uh,
it evens out because she's a little better in a number of
mhm.
places. At least if you're looking at it from a progressive through a progressive lens, she's a little better
But my
in a lot of places.
my
But then she takes a lot of heat on the border because nominally he put her like that was her thing. Like how every vice president
mhm.
gets a thing, and hers was the border.
Yeah,
So like that hurts
uh,
her.
I I think nominally is the right call because her thing clearly actually became the overturning of Roe v. Wade
Abortion, yeah.
and working on that, and I agree with that choice. But yeah. So, but get back to so I had a larger point, and people aren't gonna like it, but probably not people who listen to us. Here's why I think this may have been the right call. Ultimately, you can't convince young people with logic or like good reason
No.
or like any sort of intellectual approach. So you just had to give them the can, right? Like here's a
Yeah.
younger person, shut the fuck up and vote.
Yeah, and I mean it worked. They
Yeah,
shortly after not she wasn't even confirmed as the candidate. Joe Biden had stepped aside and kind of named her, like endorsed her. And
yeah,
we had there were more voter registrations in people 18 to 24 than there were after Taylor Swift told people 18 to 24 to go out and register to vote.
that's horrifying. Like they you can't beat Taylor Swift. That's not how it works anymore. The Republicans are probably fucking dumb. Oh man, I'm
No,
sorry if
oh
you listen to
no,
that and you're a Republican. You guys are screwed.
the Republicans are literally picking a fight with Taylor Swift, which I think is
Yeah,
just like
which is
like hilarious.
yeah.
Like, you
That's
know,
a
those
it's a
nice,
call.
good Christian girls that you were counting on, like coming over to your party and then raising the next generation of red voters. Like, you just pissed all of them off. Like, yeah, their fathers are still telling them to vote for Donald Trump, but they're definitely not because you've been talking shit about Taylor Swift.
Yeah. See, for them, even if they do identify as some sort of conservative Christian, the first thing on the list that they write down is Swiftie.
Yeah. Oh, they're also going after Beyonce. So they're going after Taylor Swift and Beyonce.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have wanted those two to be genuinely energized this whole time because I feel like they can basically win the election. So good. Please, please piss off these two women. I, because then I can go pop some popcorn and just like we can start talking about Dungeons and Dragons more and movies and stuff
Yeah.
because it's over. Like they will just there will be some and then there'll be some awesome video where her and Beyonce collaborate and they do some sort of kick-ass thing and like maybe at the end they like both nut kick a person who looks like Kanye West because of the whole thing where he came up on the stage and like was like Beyonce should have won the movie award, video award, whatever. So yeah, I just yeah, th- keep doing this shit. And the fact that this is still a coin flip just makes me not happy with my country as a general rule because
Hmm.
the Republicans are, if they have a platform, which is hard to define, but if they have one, it is filled to the brim with things in which like 80% of the country disagrees with.
Yeah.
Let me reiterate that. Disagrees. That means their approval on the thing that they want is somewhere between 20 and 30% of people.
All of the things they want. On all of the list.
and yet it's still a
Certainly
corporate.
at least all the
That's it.
things they're genuine about. Like sometimes they say we're
Imagine
about
that.
lower taxes, but they're not actually about lower taxes. They're only about lower taxes on the wealthy, and like
Yeah,
approval for that is less than 20%.
yeah, it's and somehow they still manage to be a successful party, and it defies reason. Like, and it's because it does defy reason. They don't these things that they occasionally talk about that they're doing aren't how they're running. They just like they have to say stuff. Um, they're running on be scared of transgender people, be scared of color people of color, be scared of anything but the rich, and don't worry, we'll take care of everything.
Yeah.
You know? It's like and that series of sentences just like makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up and makes me want to start hurting people. Like, wait, what?
Mm.
You're fucking me. I know you're fucking me. I've heard those words before. They always end up with me getting fucked. Ugh, I can't. Well, what have we encompassed American politics, or is there anything else we need to jump on while we're swimming in these seas?
Um, Let me think. Nothing else
Oh,
occurs to me at the moment that's super.
um there was the fun. It looks like Bill Barr decided not to investigate Trump getting $10 million from Egypt, the president of Egypt. Did you see that?
I
That's fun.
I did not see that actually.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, apparently there was some reporting in. It's supposed to the Times. I don't.
Okay.
I
Well,
think. Um, we can confirm. But there's some reporting that it appears as if um so during the Mueller investigation, they came upon some like banking irregularities that seemed to indicate that like suspicious Egypt dude takes 10 million out of a bank next in 2016. Like the next day, Trump, who had been unwilling to do so before, gives $10 million to his campaign out of his own funds, which you're allowed to do. The campaign was running out of money, so this was important. Blah blah blah.
mm,
They got to the point in the investigation because this could genuinely all come down to nothing. But they got to the point in the investigation where they wanted to, where Mueller handed it over because that was not within his
okay.
directive as a special prosecutor, right? So he was supposed to be looking into Russian interference. That's not Russian interference. Here to the FBI, you do it. The officers or whoever was in charge goes to the head of the FBI, who was a Trump appointee, and I think a woman, I don't remember. Not that I guess that super matters, but like just because it's details. Um, and say we want to subpoena additional bank records of Trump. This is during his presidency. Um, reportedly, she's initially on board, goes to Barr after whatever goes on with Barr, not on board anymore. Case is over.
Okay. I mean that tracks for me. That seems absolutely
Yeah,
like a thing that they would do.
and listen, to reiterate, it's not impossible that they look into the bank records and it's like, oh, coincidence. It's also really, I mean, he was reportedly quite kind and complimentary about Egypt throughout his presidency, and
Hmm.
they benefited relationship wise with the country. Which, once again, there are arguments that this isn't shady, but it is certainly the appearance is sufficient such that it
Yeah.
seems that an investigation should have been completed. And if I had to bet my life on it, I'd say the fucker got 10 million.
Yeah.
Oof, it was hard being that fair for that long. Oh God, I'm so glad I got to say this part at the end. Woo! Oh man, I feel sick. Okay, I'm better. So I really do want to provide the fact that it's not. It's just, but it looks. It's one of those things where it's like, honestly, if you're acting in good faith as Bill Barr, you look into it to make it go away. It's just like, okay, yeah, like
Well, I
let's
mean,
make
if
sure.
you're acting in good faith, you just look into it, like
Yeah, and
with
you believe it
no
will.
bias
You
as to whether or
believe,
not it's
yeah,
going to go away.
yeah, but and I'm okay if you like in your heart of hearts believe it can't be true because this is my boy. as long as you
Hmm.
still look into it objectively, and if it goes the other way, accept reality, which is a high bar. Like to allow facts
No,
to like
yeah.
change your view of the world.
Oh, I mean, it's a high bar for people, which hurts. But like
Yes.
Republicans are actively fighting against it.
Yeah.
Conservatives,
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
like, I mean, I think most conservatives and Republicans are the same, but some conservatives are kind of rebelling against the party of Trump Republican, but
Yeah.
they still are actively like, they say things like, "Oh, Republicans are better for the economy," which, let me be clear, is not supported by evidence. If you compare job growth, wage growth, all the markers that are agreed to actually indicate economic prosperity, Democrats are better than Republicans. They are. Republicans are
Well,
bad for
right.
the economy. They just have
Oh,
convinced people that's different.
oh, wait, that depends, right? If you are already extremely wealthy, Republicans are great.
I don't even know that that's
Is that
actually
even true?
true. No.
Wow.
So Democrats, I mean, it depends on what you look at. So like
Hmm.
the stock market. Most people who are extremely wealthy have a lot of their money tied up in the stock market.
Yes.
Democrats are better for the stock market.
All right. So I was wrong. Fuck it. That's
So,
because
well,
listen.
but then Republicans are better on your taxes if you're wealthy. So, like, it's the one thing that, like, they actually do give tax breaks to the wealthy. So, depending
Yeah,
on
but I
your
think.
exact
Hmm.
financial situation, you might be better off with Republican policies, or you might just feel better about them because you get to tell people that they can't have your
Yeah.
fucking money.
But I think practically speaking, as long as the Republicans continue to be successful in horribly underfunding the IRS, the laws on the rich don't super matter.
Hmm.
Like, because they're just gonna fuck around anyway, regardless. Like, they have to fuck around more when Democrats are in charge, but they're still gonna fuck around, and there's not really accountability for it as we currently, which is insane. Like, take there's no reason for politics to enter this at all. Like, everyone should pay taxes. Right? I know we don't want to, but that's the way it works. That's where the government gets money from. They build the roads. Like, there has to be something in that. I don't want the rich to pay more than whatever their legally required amount is. I just want them to pay the legally required amount, just like the fuck I have, right? Like, and that's not what is happening in our country. So something the country could invest in is more IRS agents. They've tried. They've been stopped by the Republican Party over and over again recently. And that would be one of the rare examples of the government being able to spend money on something that would make far more money than they are investing. Because then they would collect those taxes
Yeah,
and they would actually be a positive.
and what the Republicans do is they go back to their state and to the predominantly poor white people that they represent, and they tell them the Democrats are trying to put in 7,000 IRS agents to come take your money.
Yeah.
And it's
Nobody likes
just a lie.
taxmen.
It's
Yeah.
just a lie. And they know it's a lie, and they're saying it anyway, and people are eating it up, going, yeah, the government is bad and they want my money. They're already getting your money. They already take all of your taxes that you owe out of your paycheck every time.
uh, I mean, it's just an easy story to believe. And sometimes that's when you have to ask the most questions. When someone walks up to you, you're like, yeah, they want to hire taxmen to get you. It's like, oh no, that sucks. But they're basically doing the thing that the fucking evil phone scammers do, right? When they call and they just
Hmm.
like, your kid's in jail. You have to
Yeah.
send us $1,000 right now. It's just like that's a scary story. That is a scary story that I know has happened in the past.
Hmm.
So now I'm scared. Like, it's such an easy cheat code to manipulate people. And listen, I'm once again I'm going to implore anyone listening to this. Whenever someone is trying to make you scared, immediately stop and go, I'm pretty sure this person's full of shit. I need to pay more attention. It's just because that's that con men always It's always like the one or two things. It's always, and no, it's always fear because it's either fear of a thing, I am going to create a boogie monster or some kind of thing, or, and thank you for the phrase Web3, FOMO, right? This is such a good deal. You can't miss this,
Hmm.
like, so it's just,
Although you totally gave Web3 credit for a phrase they didn't invent, but that's okay.
we're going back to the popularized thing.
Okay.
And
Well, I
for
think
me,
social media did it before Web3 was a thing. But
for me, thank you, Web3. That's where I learned.
okay. I remember seeing it on commercials before NFTs existed.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's fear of missing out. It's not exactly like
Yeah.
creative phrasing. And it does have the nice FOMO, which it has a nice sort of phonetic appeal. It's
Yeah.
I, I
Feels
I
good in your
didn't for
mouth.
us yeah, I didn't for a second think Web3 invented it. I just, it is really what I learned.
Hmm.
So it is the gift that Web3 gave me
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, and unlike a lot of the gifts Web3 gave you, it just works outside of Web3 because other people do know it.